What the fuck is happening with Siege X? I just want to start this video talking about Siege X, why I think some aspects of it might fail, and overall just what I like about Siege X. Now, the number one glaring problem I see at the moment is Dual Front. I think Dual Front is a very interesting game mode overall. It definitely has its own place in Siege in my opinion, because you can now play operators how they're usually not supposed to be played. Like, for example, a defending smoke can now attack as smoke, and vice versa with other operators. And I love that. And that's why I think this is so unique and amazing. But I think one glaring problem is the replayability with Dual Front. Like, when I was recording the footage for this video, I spent about an hour and I played 3 games of Dual Front. And during this time, I got bored halfway through maybe the first game. And that's not because the gameplay itself was entirely boring. It's just the challenge aspect was just not there, because there was nothing at stake and there was nothing on the line. Now, I know this is just a beta and I'm just speaking from the beta perspective. I just think that right now in gaming in general, a lot of games miss the mark when it comes to challenging their player base or rewarding them for their playtime. Now, if Dual Front releases the way it is at the moment, I don't know how successful it will be. I'm really not that confident that it will be successful the way that it's standing right now, and that's because it's just not competitive enough. And that's what Rainbow Six Siege is all about. You need to have the most competitive gameplay to make Siege satisfying. If you play this game in any casual remark, it's not going to be enjoyable for the mass majority of the player base. Ubisoft always had this problem of balancing replayability with casual game modes. I've said this many times, but even like the event packs that we get, they always drop with a game mode. And to be honest, the game mode, I don't even play unless there's a free pack in it. Besides that, it's not fun. It's more of a gimmick in the side of Siege, which is completely fine, but the amount of pressure that they're putting on Dual Front to be successful is immense. They did a whole showcase, and they started off the showcase in Atlanta just having content creators playing Dual Front. They didn't even explain what Siege X was at first. They were like, here's this new game mode, watch this. They hired all these content creators from other genres that don't even play Siege, and they invested so much money just to try to get this to the masses. So what can Ubisoft do to make Dual Front actually successful and not a waste of investment in time and development? Well, it's pretty simple. There's 2 things. One, let's add a ranked mode. I told the devs, because I was flown out to San Francisco about 6 months ago to play Siege X early. I got to talk to devs. I got to just pick their brains and ask them questions with a bunch of other content creators. And one thing that I suggested, I'm like, I don't know if you guys plan on adding ranked, but this is something that needs to be added in this game mode, or it's going to die. And to be honest, I don't really know how they took that, because they didn't give me a definite answer. But I told them the problem with adding game modes that have no incentive of playing it is it just gets boring and repetitive over time. Plus, adding a competitive game mode to this would actually make it better, because the games will be more satisfying. And I do understand that this is a beta, but right now it's kind of boring playing against casual people who play Siege here and there, and they just want to pick up the game and maybe even just play just a vibe out. I'm a competitive type player who enjoys incentive and risk behind my gameplay. So when I play a casual game mode and I'm playing people that are below my skill level, it just feels boring. And I know it must feel very irritating being someone that's maybe a little bit more casual with this game and they face someone who's absolutely smoking them. I feel like ranked would just add another layer of incentive for people to actually want to try. I feel like if they also added life limits on each team, that would be more of an incentivized gameplay, because right now it's kind of like I can just rush in, die, respawn, and there's no risk over how I'm playing. And I don't know, let me know guys if that's a bad idea, but I'm just trying to figure out how to make this more competitive overall, because right now, like, I loved the gameplay when I first played it. Even after spending an hour, man, I felt mind-numbingly bored, because I was like, this isn't that fun. That's mainly because Dual Front doesn't feel like a Siege game mode, because it lacks the competitive and IQ gameplay. Usually in Siege, when you play at least ranked, in even unranked, you'll have people trying different strategies and trying different interactions with operators, and Dual Front should be a great example of this. You have this brand new huge map, and you can do all these different things that you would never be able to do. Let's say Legion on attack, for example, and people just aren't playing it like that. And that's mainly because it's just so casual that there's no competitive nature in it right now. And I'm not saying I don't like the game mode. I just see so much potential in it that I'm kind of disappointed that if it releases without a ranked game mode and they don't take further steps to improve it, it'll be a waste of time overall. And I'm hoping that I eat my words here, because the devs, I feel like, actually did do a good job with this and overall Siege X. A lot of people had some criticisms about Siege X, which I'll talk about here in a second. But I feel like a lot of them are just wrong, because the Siege devs did do a good job. Now, a lot of people on Twitter, and I've just been seeing people give their opinions in my Twitch chat about Siege X, is they're kind of disappointed with the lack of content. And they're like, yo, they spent 3 years, why isn't every single map modernized? And that's very fair, but I feel like at the same time, there's much more that goes on behind the scenes. Like, they probably were spending a lot of time rebuilding this engine up. They've been updating this engine, which a lot of people don't realize. They modernize a lot of these maps, and it's much more complicated than we know. And I don't know, I don't want to just speak out of my mouth and just be ignorant when it comes to the dev aspect, because I'm just not a dev. But in terms of content, I can definitely speak on that, because I feel like companies are not doing enough for their consumers. Something that's definitely missing out of Siege X is incentive to keep playing either different operators or the game in general. Right now, the whole reason to play Siege in total is just for either rank, or if they drop a pack system that comes out and you just want to grind for that. Besides that, there's nothing really to play for. I like that they added badges and they're slowly progressing with that, but something that they're lacking is operator mastery. It's something I also mentioned to the devs once again when I got to talk to them, is why are we not taking advantage of operators that we have already built up? You have deep lore within these operators. You have reason to give them specific levels, and then over time you can maybe even unlock new items for this operator, and rewarding the player for using this operator and even using the operator properly. Like, we're just missing out so much with the operators that we have now, and like, there's no replayability long term with Siege, that it kind of sucks for a lot of players. Because can you imagine if you were able to play Thermite, let's say 1,000 hours, and then you can put that badge or whatever on your operator, or you can unlock new unique cards that are animated, or gun skins that are animated, or even exclusive elite skins from this level system. Like just imagine you got like a level 1000 Thermite, and you get this really rare elite skin that nobody else will have unless they played as much Thermite as you. That's how you satisfy a player base. Like, I'm sick of companies forcing content that you have to pay for in people's throats. Like, a big criticism for Ubisoft was deciding to, instead of making extraction inside Rainbow Six Siege, they decided to money grab and do a whole other game, which they didn't flesh out the content enough, and it ended up just dying, and people stopped playing because there was no replayability. That's a constant theme, not only with Ubisoft, but with every single game company at the moment. They are just trying to be as money hungry as possible and do the least amount of work, and as consumers, we put up with it because there's nothing else. There's no competition. To be honest, there's no competition with Rainbow Six Siege. You can say any other FPS game is competition, but it's not, because there's nothing that's like Siege. Like, it's so unique, even in a hero shooter. Like, Overwatch is nothing like Siege. Marvel Rivals is nothing like Siege. Siege just gives you a different level of satisfaction, and we have such a loyal fan base. Something consistent with Ubisoft the last few years has been investing time and development in games, and then expecting great results short term. And then they pull the plug when they don't see instant results. Like, they don't flesh out their ideas very well. You saw this with R6 Extraction once again. You saw this with X Defiant again. And what's insane is if they did this with Rainbow Six Siege after like year 1 or year 2, the game wouldn't be where it's at now. Like we all look at year 1 and year 2 as if the game was amazing, but truly it was a broken mess. And that's why we had Operation Health, and we had so many updates over time just trying to fix the server. And even with all the bullshit that we deal with now, with, let's say, random disconnect of the server at the start of each season, or the endless bugs that just barely get fixed, like the tubercle bug that kills your FPS still after like what it feels like 2 years. If Ubisoft just spent more time fleshing out their ideas and listening to their consumers instead of expecting instant results, they would have so many more successful games. Now, besides Dual Front, I think Siege X is overall a successful and will be a successful game. Now, I know some people are saying that it sucks that there's only getting 5 modernized maps and we're getting more after every season, and that's fine. Like, I don't care about that. I'm just really happy with the audio. Audio is absolutely amazing. There's people that say on Dual Front they are not seeing the difference, which I don't know what type of ears they got, but there is a night and day difference, and it's for the better. The shadows and graphics overhaul is going to be super amazing, and there's a lot of quality of life changes that makes the game more fun overall, which definitely was lacking from the modern version of Siege that we have now. One thing I do gotta criticize though is nothing on the ranked game mode, because right now I feel like ranked is a participation award. Anybody can play like 1,000 games and automatically get champ, which I don't think that's how it should be. I feel like ranked should be competitive. I don't think that we should allow, you know, people that are copper to play with champs. I feel like the game mode should be taken very seriously, and right now it's just not, and I'm kind of sad there's nothing being updated about that, because to be honest, I feel like rank 2.0 wasn't the most successful, but that's just my opinion. Overall though, what's your thoughts and opinions on Siege X? What's your thoughts on everything that I said about Dual Front, and how would you make it successful? Or do you think that right now if it released it would be great, or do you see where I'm coming from? Overall guys, I'm just trying to have a conversation, and hopefully maybe a dev sees this, and you know, maybe they read the comments and they see that maybe some people are agreeing with me, or they're giving different insights. Besides that guys, have a wonderful day, and thank you for watching to the very end of the video.